the sounds of a geese or a goose broke through during that record called "The Walls Are Way Too Thin." I was testing some sound levels. Amy Jones, the owner. Right, story. Amy Jones, the owner of an animal rescue centre in Kent, may face a £2,500 fine if she can't silence her noisy geese. Geese, you're on. So there they are. A letter from Swale Council has ordered the Happy Pants Ranch, which is near Sittingbourne, to stop its animals making an unreasonable level of noise because it's had a detrimental effect on those living nearby. And the geese have been very loud indeed. So it's not just geese there. Chickens, rabbits, guinea pigs, tortoises, turkeys are among 100 abandoned or unwanted animals that live at Amy's centre. And then they found a new home afterwards. So this is one of Amy's pigs. If that's another goose, we are in trouble. Amy is very upset by the threat of a fine, asking why geese in the countryside can cause any offence. She's also been ordered to stop burning waste and is in trouble as well for allowing the continual use of a generator on her site. Swale Council says we've got a duty to investigate any complaints we receive. We always try and work with those involved to resolve the situation in an amicable manner. This prevents the need to take formal enforcement action in the majority of cases. So do you live near noisy geese yourself, and actually you think owners have a duty to keep them quieter? Send a text 88291, email vine@bbc.co.uk. We'll talk in a moment to a former member of the London Assembly who's had a lot to do with council actions on the environment. But first, Amy Jones herself is on the line. Now, were those your geese we heard just then?
They could have been. It's quite difficult to differentiate between. I think
it was. Yeah. So, how did you hear that you were in trouble?
Well, basically, we moved to a new site. The charity's been going for the animal sanctuary. We've been taking animals in for nearly 10 years now, and we've moved to a new site in January. And unfortunately, ever since we moved to this new site, which is literally in the middle of nowhere on agricultural land. Sorry, that was the donkey. We've the neighbours, and I'll use that term very loosely because they're quite far away, have basically complained about every single thing that they could, including animals, like you said, bonfires, the noise from the generator, the noise from the cockerel, the noise from the geese.
And the pig, I played the pig. Is that Francis?
That's it, yeah, he's called Sir Francis. Yeah.
And they complained about the pig as well?
They didn't actually complain about the pig, but I said I'm surprised they haven't done, because honestly everything else they've complained about, it would be about as ridiculous as a pig snoring.
But if you are, as you say, in the middle of nowhere, and the nearest neighbours are, I don't know how far away, but a long way away, how do they hear it?
I mean, I've no idea. They've said apparently it depends which way the wind is blowing. And they are 215 metres away through woods.
Let's bring
these
in.
Aren't next. I wouldn't even call them next door neighbours.
I don't know how a goose would travel that far. The sound. Brian Coleman, former member of the London Assembly, former cabinet member for the environment in Barnet. It seems to me after 200 metres, you don't have a sound complaint leg to stand on, Brian.
Well, presumably the council have done all the noise testing. And I think you've got cocks there, and cocks crow, and you can hear a cock crowing more than 200 yards.
Yeah. So you would tend to think the council's probably on the right tracks here, would you?
I'm sure the council have got a rock-solid case, else they wouldn't be wasting their officers' time pursuing the poor. I think the key is you moved there in January, and, that's... you should perhaps have stayed where you were for 10 years. You seem to have got on okay.
Why did you move, Amy?
Yeah, it wasn't an option, unfortunately. The house that I was at, due to divorce with my ex-partner, I had to move, and we only found this bit of land through an appeal through one of the local newspapers, because finding land in Kent is like gold dust, especially if you're not wanting to develop it. We had no choice but to move, and this came up. The land hadn't been touched for 20 years. It was very overgrown. There's no houses around. It's not a residential area, even though every place where the sanctuary has been before. I mean, I lived in the middle of Raynham, which is a town, and I didn't have as many animals, but I still had cockerels, pigs, everything I've got here, just on a smaller scale, and it was a semi-detached house. And not once in all these
people
years have we had a complaint from anyone.
No, maybe people don't complain in towns because there's so much other noise. Brian, have you had experience of cats, dogs, guinea pigs, snakes, tortoises, chickens, pigs, sheep, horses, or wild geese?
Funnily enough, a lot of complaints about dogs barking.
Yep.
And surprisingly, a lot of complaints about foxes.
Really?
In foxes in town centres, and foxes, they rip open plastic sacks and go through the rubbish. But not many complaints about geese or farm animals.
Do you not, Amy, as the person who is closest to all those animals, don't they disturb you as well?
Well, no, not at all. Obviously, I've been living with cockerels for, not actually living with them, but around them for years. So I've probably just sort of got used to it. But like I said, the neighbours, when we moved from the last place, actually commented and said, "Oh, we really miss that noise because it's a sign of the countryside. It's a sign that you're living in, a green place."
What did the warning say?
It's not
Sorry,
helpful. It's not helpful to have, if you've had nothing there for 20 years, as you say, on a piece of land, to suddenly have a cacophony of animals. It's not really very helpful.
No, there's gonna be noise. Obviously, it's going to be noisier than what it was before we were here. That's 100% fact, obviously, because there was nothing here. But I just didn't expect in all the years of running the sanctuary to move to somewhere which literally is in the middle of nowhere, and
Can you not try being reasonable with the local council? Often helps.
Oh yeah, we're literally doing everything we can, and we're working with the council to, we've blacked out the windows for the cockerels, so that they're not crowing as loud, things like this. But I think unfortunately the people who are, and seemingly to be the only people complaining, are they know the system quite well, and they are incessantly complaining to the council, where the council I don't think they feel that they've got any choice but to continue investigating it. But we've had no readings or anything.
Well, the council always come to these things with a fair mind, and just because people complain doesn't actually mean the council continually investigates. If there's no reason to complain, the council will turn around and say there's nothing wrong here.
Well, the first person we had from the council's environmental health department came round and said, I was talking to him at the front gate, and he said, "Oh, how loud is the generator when it's on?" And I said, "It is on." And he said, "I can't even hear it." And Brilliant. I said, "Well, you can't even hear it from the front gate, let alone 250 metres through woodland."
What about offering some sort of an olive branch to the neighbours, like, for example, sending them earplugs?
A goose. I'm sorry,
not a goose.
If they would be open to that.
They might not be there. They might not be.
We're trying to do everything we can to work with the council. We don't want these issues. We're a charity. We're meant to be bringing something positive to the community, to this area, because we do a lot for mental health and things. So it's awful that we're now sort of being. It's almost harassment. The amount of things that have been complained about. It's not just one or two. It's ridiculous things like. I've been advised.
The council have taken action. That means it's on a legal basis. So that can't be harassment. The council don't harass people. The council just react to complaints and investigate those complaints. And if there's justifiable reason for the complaint, the council takes action. I suspect that's what happened here.
Thank you very much. Brian Coleman, former member of the London Assembly, who is Cabinet Member for the Environment in Barnet, North London, and Amy Jones, who is the owner of the Happy Pants Ranch. It has moved, and the pants aren't so happy now. Well, the neighbours aren't, anyway. It's the geese. There's the pigs. What would you do? Cut the Gordian knot here for us. Give us the wisdom of Solomon. Who's in the right? You've got noisy geese, and the neighbours live 200 metres plus away. And it's an animal rescue place, so the animals are in need. You can't just throw them out. But then noise is noise. I wouldn't be any good working for the council, would I?